So another fun thing happened. These are the exhaust manifold bolts, and they're supposed to be, that what I assume is a lock washer up here. And I think they're supposed to be two different pieces. But anyway, you can see where that washer is. The cross section of the bolt is actually rusted away. You can see like full threads here and then like no threads there. So this bolt is diminishing in size from rust. I've already cleaned them up a little bit. But that's bad news. That's basically asking for a snapped off bolt. And I thought I had new stainless bolts in the box with the new manifold, but that apparently is not the case. I think I accidentally put them in the box for the new muffler, and that box is at my dad's shop. The good news there is that my $30 Victor Reinstall, whatever, manifold gasket is here, so I don't have to use the crappy one that came in the kit. So that's good. However, I am probably going to end up reusing these guys or cherry picking the best ones and like putting the good ones on the bottom or something, or go to the hardware store, and I really don't want to go to the hardware store. But we also have a new opportunity for some fun content. This is a little stainless bucket with a gasket in the top of it that I've just filled with evaporust. I don't know if you guys know what that is or not. But evaporust, or evaporust, is like a rust-eating, converting, whatever agent. This is condensing because I've got a 5-gallon bucket of it in the basement, and it's like 65 in the basement, and it's like 90 out here. So what I'm going to do is start an experiment right now. I know I'm not going to be out here tomorrow, and put them in. Like these are like rusted fast. So even if I were to get new bolts, I'd still want to reuse these spring washers or whatever they are. I'm going to dump them all in the bucket here and leave them for a day, and we'll pull them out and see what happens. So it's been almost exactly 48 hours. Let's see what we ended up with here. Let's get our fishing rod out. Doesn't look too bad. I'll have to dry it off with a rag and see. Let me get a rag and clean this up, and then I'm going to see if these washers pop off. Alright guys, so I had to work at it quite a lot, but I did manage to get one of these washers off. And the first thing I'll comment on is I've used this evaporust before, but never for anything like this, and never in a sealed container. This stuff stinks. It smells really bad. I'm not sure why. So I did manage to get one apart, but what was left behind looks kind of like there's adhesive on it, like these were glued together from the factory. And I'm not really sure if I should, keep prying them all apart. I don't know. These cleaned up pretty nicely. I think I'll probably just reuse them, anti-seize them up and reuse them. But I don't think it'll hurt anything at all to leave them in the bath a little longer. You can see there's still some rust on the inside of that. All in all, it did a pretty nice job cleaning them up. Anyway, that's the end result. Is they cleaned up nicely. I think these washers are supposed to be attached. I don't feel like prying them all apart is going to help me that much in replacing these with stainless or anything. I will just pick the best looking ones to put in the bottom of the manifold, so if there ever is an issue, it's at the top side and it should be easier to deal with. But so these are the bolts themselves after 3 days of evaporust, and you can see how pitted up they are. They actually cleaned up really nice. They took a lot of the heavy scale off, but you can see there, the threads back here, because of the way we're using them on this application, don't mean anything. It's just the threads up front. But you can see that they're just kind of gross. And if this were the Blazer, that'd be fine, but the Blazer is the only one I'm holding myself to a tight budget on. The Jeep always has been kind of a pet. Actually, most of my cars are usually kind of pets. I don't usually fret too much over what something costs as long as I have the money to pay for it, you know what I mean? So I did go ahead and decide, alright, we're going to get new bolts. And I went ahead and pried the washers off of all these, and I ran them back through the evaporust bath for another day. I haven't looked at them yet. I put them back in last night, so this will be 24 hours. So I bought new bolts, and what really kind of cheesed me off is, like I said, I have stainless bolts for this already, 3 hours round trip from here. So I thought, if I'm going to buy more stainless bolts, I'm not just going to go down the hardware store and get whatever Chinese, stainless they happen to have. So what I did instead, if you know those stickers, you know what I did. I went to the Getting Spot, which is McMaster car, and normally they are stupidly expensive for virtually everything. These were surprisingly affordable, and from Thailand at least, instead of China. And what's weird is I saw that a bunch on eBay too. Is a whole bunch of Thai hardware. Taiwan I would have expected, but Thailand not as much. But anyway, I have a lot of experience with McMaster car. I'm sure a lot of you guys do. They sell good stuff that they stand behind. And these are also 316 stainless. These aren't 818. They're not 304. These are 316. These are basically the highest grade of stainless steel that you can get without ordering, I don't know, like submarine or aircraft or something fasteners. I think these actually are mil spec, and compared to what I would have paid at the hardware store, I'm in it about the same. The hardware store would have charged me probably $1 or more each per stainless bolt, and altogether with everything I bought in stainless from McMaster, I think I got 10 of these, bought stainless collector bolts, and I'll have spares, stainless washers and lock nuts and all that stuff. With shipping, it's probably 30 bucks. So I would have been into that at the hardware store too, and now I have nice surgical steel header bolts, which it's what every Jeep needs is surgical steel. So what I've done is I've dumped those big factory spring washers in here, and I'm going to pull them out and wash them off, because evaporust is water soluble, it's biodegradable. So I'm just going to take them in the kitchen sink, wash them off, dry them off, and then I'm going to paint them. I already had the can of black 500-degree engine enamel from doing the cam cover on the tractor. So I'll just paint them with that, and we'll see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see how this stuff holds up on exhaust components. So more than anything, painting them, just because they actually aren't in such bad shape. In fact, it's time to get them out. Let's see if I can grabble a couple. Well, I believe I did. Boy, got a whole bunch more than a couple. Yeah, those look pretty good. I'll get them rinsed off and everything and show you what they look like in the nude. And after a quick rinse and a dry off with a paper towel, that's what I ended up with. I think this guy's probably the worst condition. You can see it's pretty heavily pitted. On the inside of it's got like a fair bit of slag. So I'll probably try and install this guy on the top. But anyway, the whole reason I'm going through the effort to paint these is, well, 3 reasons. One, probably the foremost reason, is you can buy replacements of these washers from, I think, Ada Amics, and they're like $3 a piece. There's 9 of them here, so this is $30 of washers. So I want them to last as long as I can. Another one being that I just kind of want to test out this paint, because I've never used it before, and it applied nice, so if it works well, I'll continue using it. I just kind of want to test it out and see how it's going to hold up in exhaust stuff. And then the third reason is just straight up, vanity. Why not? I've got a expensive stainless hardware. I've got an expensive stainless manifold. It's going to have a full stainless exhaust before too long. Why not try and make it look a little nicer? Not hard up to have to drive it right this second, although very soon. So anyway, I'm going to hose these things down with some brake clean and towel them off again quick and get a coat of paint on them. And there we go. Put a whole bunch of paint on that side of them, and they're black and they're sitting out here in the sun, so they'll probably be dry in not much time at all. And I imagine I'll let them continue to cure out overnight and then flip them over and do the other side. Well, after 5 or so cans of brake clean and a steel brush, taking it real easy around those injectors, it's about as good as I can do. I don't know how much you guys will be able to see, but everything that was in there, it actually came off real easily. Reeks of gas. So yeah, this is just a bad overfueling problem from years of my neglect. I should have fixed this exhaust manifold forever ago. Usually when I see something this bad, it is someone else's neglect. But no, this one's all me. But that is about as good as I could do. and it's a lot better. Good news is inside the plenum, if you don't know what that means, these are runners, and this volume back here would be considered a plenum. It's actually not too bad. Looks pretty clean in there, so it looks like mostly what happened is just all that extra fuel pulled up from basically back here forward and just made an entire mess of the inside of this thing. And I'll show you something else. That's the bucket I used to collect the brake clean and stuff as I was going. It wasn't clean before I started, but all this heavy black crap wasn't in there before. That's all what was in the intake. And so are those chunks of stuff. Those are like hard, not really hard, but kind of like wet tortilla chip, I guess, texture, like crap that I was digging out of it. So all in all, I am pretty ashamed of myself that it got this bad. But it's good to have all that crap out of there. At least I'm pretty sure it's all out of there. I'm hoping I didn't screw up any of the sensors in the intake, but if I did, I did. I mean, this is so bad I couldn't just not do anything about it. What I would have really loved to do would be to tear the whole thing down and hot tank it, but I don't have time for that. So anyway, that's the story on that. It took me probably about an hour or so to get it as cleaned up as I can without going insane. I didn't want to damage the O-ring, the injector pintles or anything like that, so I just took it easy and got what I could. But yeah, you see yours like that, shame on you, shame on us. Alright, now that we got the inside cleaned up, it's time to clean up the outside of this gasket mating face. And you guys that have been around for a hot minute have already seen me use these guys before. What these are is these are roll-lock wheels. Put them in your die grinder into an arbor. These are 3M Scotch-Brite, very fine. So they're meant for aluminum. So they don't like to chew into stuff or anything like that. They'll leave this with a pretty nice face on it. Some guys get really freaked out about using these. So they say they leave abrasive whiskers behind and stuff. You know, you should probably listen to those guys. I don't know what to say. I've been using these for 20 years. I like them. They work good for me. So that is what I'm going to keep doing probably. And plus, you know, with this manifold, I've got paper towels and stuff in there. The odds of anything going in there that's going to be bad, any worse than the stuff I already cleaned out, is pretty low. And there it is, all nice and shiny clean. And if you look at this thing, I'll show you how, I guess, not aggressive those pads are. See how these little pock marks look like little teeth bites all over the place? And actually, you see that big swirl? See those big swirls that go around? Those big swirls are from when they machined this when it was made. So when it came out of the mold, they had a clamping fixture or something that took a big grinder across this thing and smoothed it off. And you can see all that stuff still there. So we didn't get into it at all. And those little teeth marks, those are actually from the gasket. See all those little teeth in the gasket? I couldn't honestly tell you why those are there, but they are. And those still remain behind after I took to this with a die grinder with one of those very fine pads. So unless you're just really trying to do something stupid, you're not going to hurt yourself with one of those pads, with the criticism of, you know, you could get crap inside something you don't want crap inside of, notwithstanding. But anyway, that guy's all cleaned up, ready to rock. In proof that the sun will even shine on a dog's ass some days, we had a big thunderstorm come through the town that my employer is in last night, apparently. And I'm not affected here, but at like 9:30 this morning, we lost power at work and they sent everybody home. It's supposed to be a high of like 79 today. It's still over 80 in the shop, so you're gonna have to put up with listening to the fan all day. But we're wrenching. I've got my washers all entombed in paint, which is an accurate way to state it. I just drench these things. I put the final coat on them last night and they're dry, but they're still kind of like sticky. If you put them together, they'll stick to each other. So I've got them sitting out here in the sun and letting them kind of cure out more before I have to actually use them. And since I had the paint can out anyway, I was looking through some of the video and my freeze plugs. If you don't know what that is, those are freeze plugs or expansion plugs. Or pouring plugs. When they cast the block, they get sand out of those holes, but these go into the water jackets So if the coolant ever freezes, the hope is these will expand out instead of cracking the block. Well, anyway, I noticed a lot of these are pretty rusty. So if you've heard of, the no prep drag racing, this was like no prep block painting. I just took to the side of the block with a can of brake clean and hit it with a paper towel real lightly and just hit it with the spray can. Just drenched it. You can probably see paint pooled up in the bottom. Did that last night too. My thought on that is if it buys me 6 months before a freeze plug rusts out, then it was worth it. I had the paint can in my hand anyway, so anyhow, now the next thing to do to get, I would say to conclude our cleaning and prep portion of things is to get the die grinder out and clean up that head. Eventually I will end up doing this just like I did the intake manifold with a roll-lock wheel and the die grinder. But what I like to do first to kind of get this heavy kind of stuff off is, this is an old wood chisel that's been around forever that is super dull. This thing's never going to cut wood, without a lot of work. In fact, you probably see how blunted it is. But it is just awesome for taking like a rough cut for gasket removal. And apparently carbon buildup and all kinds of garbage. So I am going to be doing this for a little bit here. See if I can show you guys quick why I like using this wood chisel instead of like a razor blade or anything like that. Let's see if we can get some more light. There we go. There you can see it. This is like the I don't know, the sealer or whatever that's tied to the factory gasket, and you can just push that right off. A razor blade will get cocked and sideways on you and they flex around and stuff, but nice firm dull wood chisel, man, you can just mine right at this stuff. You don't have to worry about gouging anything up. It's easy to hang on to, it's comfortable, you can use it for the rest of your life. In fact, it's the only reason I own wood chisels is for stuff like this. But anyway, that's why I really like doing it this way. Now I'm going to start taking, I kind of already started, these paper towels out of the ports, like one at a time. I'll have to get a fresh towel to put back in that port right there and that port, and just carefully do the perimeters on these. I'm not trying to knock stuff down in the head. Slow and steady wins the race here. Just take it easy around these ports. Just trying not to get crap in them, and don't go across the top. That's what we did before already. So just try and cozy up to them. And I think you probably just saw a little bit of junk I managed to push off of there. Well, I'd really love to just go to town on that, but bad idea. Anyway, so that's the whole idea. You can see the crud we pushed off of it. Just gonna wipe that off there. So I'll continue to go around the head, and I might get more bold and shove the towels in deeper like I did that one. But anyway, this is the whole concept. I don't think you need to watch it all. It's going to take a little while. And if you guys are new here, you probably don't know I like to work on things the way I like to work on them. There's faster ways to do this. You don't have to do it my way. It's just the way I like to do it. And that is what, probably about a half hour of scraping got us for our money. Looking pretty good all in all. I think a lot of guys would, pretty likely just wipe that down with some brake clean on a rag and reinstall. But like I said before, I like to use those roll-lock wheels, make sure everything's really nice and clean. And I did get a little more bold with the paper towels. The runners are pretty easy to dig stuff out of if it came to it, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. Or I suppose the ports, not the runners. See, I tucked them in quite a bit more, and I'll definitely want those in there when I use that roll-lock wheel. So there is where she stands, looking good. Ought to be up and going again, just a matter of weeks. Alright guys, I just wanted to show you quick one of the reasons why I like using the die grinder. You see this like black kind of crud here? You can't even catch that with your fingernail, but that roll-lock wheel, if you're patient and take your time, will take it right off. And you can already tell I'm not eating into the head or anything with it. Those are still the factory milling marks. But I want all this garbage off of there. So I want the new gaskets to have the best opportunity in life they can to seal.
2,000 years later.
Alright, so I got it all cleaned up with the die grinder, at least as well as I think it's going to get. Things are looking pretty good. I'll probably go back over it with a can of brake clean and a rag. I'm also going to take the studs with a wire brush and some brake clean and just try and get them cleaned up a little better. But yeah, that's what we got out of the die grinder and roll-out discs. And I'll just show you, it loads up. Actually, that one's not so bad, but it loads up these very fine roll-out discs pretty quickly, especially taking what is probably exhaust carbon off. Yeah, here's one that's much, much worse. This one I ran straight in the ground. I mentioned during the Escort, or early in the Escort series, that these things are like 50 cents a piece. I probably burned up about 8 of them, so just be prepared. You can also buy more aggressive grades than those very fines, but I'd rather spend a little more money and take things a little more easily to make sure I don't screw anything up. And if you were paying attention during the I suppose we'll call this time lapse or speed up, I kept getting caught in these holes here. It would actually suck the pad in, push the towels in. I used to, and I don't know what happened to them, have much larger diameter wheels. They're a little less versatile, so when I had to buy more, I just bought smaller ones. But if I had larger wheels, that wouldn't happen. So if you don't have any and this is a job you're doing and you want to do what I'm doing, I would say get like a 2-inch or maybe even a 3-inch wheel, and you'll probably have less issues with that. So now I'm going to clean those studs up, and then I think I'm going to go down through here with the old manifold bolts and some WD-40 and just kind of chase all the threads out, and then we'll be that much closer to reassembly. For my next bit of prep here, I'm going to do another trick you guys could have seen me do on the Escort. I'm going to take one of these old bolts and just slather it with anti-seize and run it in the hole, slather it again, change hole, slather again, and right on down the line. And the reason I'm doing that is I want the anti-seize in the holes and not on the gasket. I'm actually going to use a gasket spray, a copper gasket spray, and I don't want that stuff to mix with anti-seize and not do the job I hired it to do. So I'm going to run down through them all and get anti-seize in all the holes, and then after that I believe we'll be ready to get the shop vac out and suck all the crap out and the paper towels out of the ports, and then I think we'll be looking at reassembly time. I think that it's going to be the official end of the prep portion of the video. I want to thank all you guys for stopping in and watching, and you guys that are making comments and subscribing and stuff like that. It really does mean a ton to me. I really appreciate it. The only thing I have left to do on this before I reassemble anything is give that like a final wipe down with some mineral spirits or brake cleaner or something like that on a rag. Let's make sure that surface is all clean. But otherwise, she's ready to go. So thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. This is Saddington Bear. He's our channel mascot and project supervisor, and he would like you to know I try to make a project video every week. You might be interested in some of these other videos. Take a look and let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching. Really appreciate it.